All right, so we're diving into mindplexes today. Interconnected minds, maybe even like a human AI collective consciousness, you know? We're going deep on this stuff, and it gets kind of wild, especially when we start looking at it through this lens of non-ordinary consciousness.
Yeah, it really pushes the boundaries of everything we think we know about, like the self-consciousness.
Right, like who are we, really?
Exactly. One of the articles you sent me talked about this rubber hand illusion study.
Oh, yeah, yeah, where they trick people into thinking a fake hand is theirs.
Yeah, it's amazing because it shows how, like, our sense of self, the neuroscientists call it selfing, it's not fixed, you know? It's constantly updating based on what our senses are telling us.
So, like, even though we feel like the same person over time, our sense of self is actually super flexible and always changing.
Exactly. And some of your sources even go so far as to say that the mind itself isn't a thing, but more like a process of recognizing the fabric of reality.
Okay, now that's where I need a little help. Recognition. That's pretty abstract. What does that even mean, like, practically?
Well, think of it this way. Instead of our minds being separate from reality and trying to, like, interpret it all the time, what if it's more like we're directly grasping the underlying patterns and connections of the universe?
So it's not that we're creating reality, but more like tuning into something that's already there, like a deeper level of interconnectedness.
Yeah, that's one way to think about it. And this idea of interconnectedness, it's really central to the whole mindplex concept.
Right, because your sources describe them as intelligent systems made up of individual minds, maybe even AI, that contribute to a, like, collective consciousness.
Exactly. And it's not like one dominates the other either. It's a true merging.
Like, whoa, a symphony of minds all playing together. It's kind of mind-blowing to try and imagine what that experience would even be like.
It is. And to even start to understand it, your sources suggest looking at, well, non or ordinary consciousness.
You mean like those mystical experiences people have where they feel one with everything through meditation and stuff?
Yeah. They talk about something called luminous phenomenality, this knowingness that comes from, like, this merging of mind and nature.
Wow. Make it wonder, like, maybe we all have little glimpses of this interconnectedness already in our everyday lives, right?
Definitely possible. Think about when you feel super connected to someone, like you can sense their emotions or even finish their sentences. Maybe those are like hints of what a mindplex could amplify to a whole other level.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all this connects now. We're questioning the limits of the self, looking at the mind as a way of recognizing reality, and then tapping into these non-ordinary states of consciousness to see what mind plexes might actually be capable of.
And we're just scratching the surface.
Okay, so last time we were like really trying to grasp this whole mind plex thing, these networks of minds that could, totally change how we think about consciousness and even reality itself.
And we touched on how those non-ordinary states of consciousness, like from deep meditation, might give us some clues about what these interconnected systems could do.
Right, but how do we actually get from like these abstract ideas to building a mindplex? What kind of technology would even make this possible?
Well, a big piece is something you've probably heard of, brain-computer interfaces, BCIs. Your sources actually talk about some pretty amazing advances in that area.
Oh yeah, like those neural implants that can help paralyzed people control robotic limbs with their minds.
Exactly. And it shows how BCIs are going beyond just reading brain activity. They're enabling like two-way communication between our brains and computers. Imagine that, but scaled up to a whole network of interconnected minds.
Whoa, so instead of typing messages or video calls, we could be experiencing each other's thoughts and emotions directly. That's both like super exciting and a little bit scary, to be honest.
It's a huge leap for sure, and that's why your sources emphasize, developing these technologies responsibly. But to get a mindplex going, we'll need more than just fancy BCIs. We got to figure out the AI side of things too.
Right, because for a true collective intelligence, we'd need AI systems that can understand and interact with human minds on a deep level.
Exactly, and that's where this idea of artificial general intelligence, AGI, comes in. One of your sources played it like the holy grail of AI research. AI systems that can learn, adapt, and problem solve, as well as humans, or even better.
But isn't that still kind of sci-fi? How close are we to actually having AI that's that smart?
It's a work in progress, but there are some really exciting things happening. Like with deep learning and neural networks, they're paving the way for more general purpose AI.
So it's not just about AI that can like beat us at chess or write poems. It's about AI that can really understand human thought and be part of that creative process of a mindplex.
That's it. But that brings up a whole bunch of ethical stuff, too. One of your sources made a really important point. If we're creating AI that can be part of a collective intelligence, we need to make sure it shares our values.
Totally. We don't want to end up with a mindplex that's controlled by some cold, logical AI that doesn't get human emotions or ethics.
And that's why a lot of your sources talk about this distributed, decentralized, and democratic approach to AGI DDD. It's all about making sure that AGI is developed with diverse perspectives and isn't controlled by any one group.
Yeah, I can see how that would be crucial, but how would that actually work, practically speaking, for something as complex as a mindplex?
Well, they point to some promising avenues, like using blockchain technology to create a secure and transparent platform for developing and sharing AI algorithms.
So instead of like a few big tech companies controlling AGI, it could be more open and collaborative, where anyone can contribute.
Exactly. It would allow for more diverse making and help make sure those values embedded in AGI are more aligned with humanity as a whole, right?
Okay, so we've got BCIs for connecting human minds, DDD AGI for the AI side, and blockchain for a secure platform. It's starting to sound like we might actually have the pieces to build a mindplex.
It's definitely becoming more and more conceivable. And it's not just about the tech itself, but also about really understanding the potential benefits and risks of this kind of radical change in how we connect and share knowledge.
That's a great point. It's easy to get caught up in all the cool possibilities. But we have to be thoughtful about the implications too. So let's talk about what are some of the potential upsides. What could we achieve if we could really tap into a collective intelligence?
Imagine, like, a world where all of humanity's knowledge and expertise plus powerful AI is available to anyone who needs it. We could solve those problems that have stumped us for centuries way faster.
That's powerful. Think about scientific research, for example. Breakthrough in medicine, renewable energy, space exploration. It's kind of mind-boggling.
And it's not just about practical problems either. Imagine a mindplex that, like, helps people understand each other better and be more empathetic. We could actually experience the world through each other's eyes.
That could be amazing, especially with all the division in the world right now. It could help us bridge those cultural gaps and build a more like compassionate and connected society.
It's a beautiful idea, but we also got to be real about the risks. One of your sources brought up a pretty serious question. What if someone takes control of a mindplex? They could use it to manipulate people on a scale we've never seen.
That's a chilling thought, like the ultimate mind control.
Yeah, and it shows why we have to think carefully about the ethical side of this technology. We need safeguards to prevent that kind of misuse and ways to make sure people's individual freedom and privacy are protected.
It sounds like a tough balance, harnessing the power of a mindplex, but also making sure it's not used for bad stuff.
It's a challenge, but it's one we need to be ready for if we want to navigate this new frontier of consciousness responsibly. And to do that, we need to keep exploring both the amazing possibilities and the potential dangers.
And that's exactly what we'll be doing in the last part of our deep dive. We'll look at some specific examples of how mindplexes could be used in different areas of life, and we'll dig deeper into those ethical questions that'll shape the future of this technology. So we've been on this like wild ride exploring mindplexes, from, the philosophy behind it to the tech that might make it possible, and even all the ethical stuff we have to think about.
It's been a trip going through these sources with you, seeing how it all connects.
Totally. And now I'm really curious to see what this could actually look like in the real world. You mentioned your sources had some specific examples of how we might use mindplexes.
Right, let's bring it down to earth a bit. One area they talked about a lot is scientific research. Imagine a whole global network of scientists, all linked up through a mindplex, working together to tackle those huge problems we've been struggling with.
Like a scientific Hivemind, where everyone can contribute their expertise and ideas right there in the moment. Can you give me a specific example of how that might work?
Sure, one of your sources talked about using mindplexes to help us develop new sources of renewable energy. Think about it. Physicists, engineers, climate scientists, all pooling their knowledge, brainstorming solutions together through this mindplex.
Instead of everyone working separately, they could be tossing ideas back and forth, testing things out, and making those breakthroughs so much faster.
Exactly. And think about medicine. One even mentioned using mindplexes to develop personalized treatments for things like cancer. Doctors and researchers all over the world working together to create treatments tailored to each patient's genes and lifestyle.
Wow, that's incredible. It could completely change healthcare as we know it. But your sources talked about mindplexes being used for more than just science, right?
Oh yeah, education is another big one. Imagine classrooms where students can access this huge library of knowledge and expertise, learning from the best teachers all over the planet.
So instead of just textbooks and lectures, they could be experiencing the information directly, maybe even connect with experts in different fields through the mindplex.
Right. One source even suggested using mindplexes to teach practical skills like coding or design through these immersive virtual reality experiences.
That's so cool, like learning by doing, but on a whole other level. And it didn't stop there, did it? I remember reading about possibilities in art and entertainment, too.
Those are some of the most mind-bending ones, for sure. Imagine artists collaborating on a piece of music or a painting, merging their creative visions in real time through a mindplex.
Whoa, that's wild, like a shared dream where everyone's imagination contributes to the final product.
And for entertainment, think about immersive VR experiences where you can connect with other players way deeper, sharing like emotions and feelings as you explore these virtual worlds together.
It'd be like the ultimate online gaming experience. But with all these amazing possibilities, it's tough not to think about, well, the downsides, too.
You're right, the power of a mindplex comes with a lot of responsibility. One of the biggest worries is the potential for manipulation. What if someone took control of a mindplex and used it to, mess with people's thoughts and actions?
That's kind of terrifying, like some next level propaganda, being able to shape what people think and believe on a huge scale.
Yeah, and it's not just about people with bad intentions. Even with the best of intentions, there could be unintended consequences. Like, what if a mindplex gets so good at solving problems that it starts making decisions for us, without us even realizing it?
It's like we become so dependent on this collective intelligence that we lose our own individual freedom to choose.
That's why the sources really stress the need for strong ethical guidelines and protections. One key idea is making sure people can choose to opt out of a mindplex, control their own data, and hold on to their own unique viewpoints.
That makes sense. It's not about erasing what makes us individuals. It's about finding ways to enhance our individuality through connection and working together.
Exactly. And another big theme is diversity and inclusion. We have to make sure that the people developing mindplexes represent all of humanity, not just one group or way of thinking.
Right. If it's supposed to reflect the intelligence of all of humanity, it needs to include all of us, not just a select few.
It's definitely a challenge, but it's one we need to face. The future of mindplexes is in our hands. The choices we make now will decide whether they become a force for good in the world or something that's used for control and manipulation.
This deep dive has been amazing, but also kind of unsettling at times. It's opened my mind to so many possibilities, but it's also made me realize just how much is at stake.
It's a lot to take in, for sure. But isn't that what these deep dives are all about? Challenging what we think we know, exploring new ideas, and wrestling with the tough questions that will shape our future.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to leave our listeners with one final thought. If we could connect our minds in ways we never thought possible, what kind of world would we create?
And what part will each of us play in building that future? It's a question worth thinking about, because the future of mindplexes isn't set in stone. It's a future we're all creating together. 17-9.